We're live?
We're live.
We're live? Hello, everyone. We're This is the next episode of the podcast. We're just gonna pick up where we left off last time. So, Mystic, do your thing, and we can get started.
Mike didn't say, but it's episode 20. We made 20 whole episodes with the podcast.
Yeah. Just get started. We got a lot to cover.
All right, Mr. Impatient. Take it away.
Take what away?
Well, we got to cover.
Well, we have to cover everything we did last time, and then the important part, which is the new class overviews that came out.
Before we do any of that, Mike, what have you been up to?
I've just been busy at work because it's that time of year, and I work retail, so that's why the videos have been lacking on my channel recently. It's just work.
Nice.
Draining me, man. I'm working 55-hour weeks starting next week, man.
Ooh,
those holiday
55
seasons.
hours. 55 hours.
All that
Hey,
overtime.
what have you been up to?
Pretty much work. Caught my head in Overwatch, and that was it.
Yeah, I think I've put more time in Overwatch in one day than I have any game, with the exception of World of Warcraft, in one day in a very long time. And really, what made it real fun was playing with you, because it was not fun playing with myself. It was fun, but it wasn't. There was really no coordination whatsoever.
I love you too.
True love, guys. True love.
I mean, honestly, when we were playing, how many times were we able to save the game because you and me were on vent talking and formulated something?
Yeah. No,
changing our classes.
It's just chaos when everybody's doing their own thing. Nobody's coordinating. And then all that you hear on voice chat in the game is, you guys suck, or you guys are not picking the right class, or why is everybody over here and not over here? Instead of saying, hey, come with me.
Right. It's quite annoying, actually. But
Fun.
I like how it is. There does seem to be some issues in the game, like the tutorial. I don't know how far you got in the tutorial, but after the first one, it just bugged out on me.
Oh, no, I think that towards the end, you just, capture the place, and it just kicks you out.
Well, what happened with me was, it's like, jump up here, okay? And it went to the second phase, the second part of the tutorial, and it started doing the next tutorial, but was still doing the first tutorial at the same time.
Oh, that was weird. No, I didn't have that issue.
I was like, well, that's broken. And there are times, I watch the kill cams, and there's times where I'm like, how'd that kill me? He shot through a wall.
Yeah, there were plenty of those.
Or he shot me in the foot.
Yeah, sniped in the foot kills my character.
So I don't know how that all works out, but all right. Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Overwatch myself too. So going back to what happened with BlizzCon, end game, not dungeons or raids. They're taking the best from Mist and Warlords for the daily quest type system. What we saw was, you still got to go to an area and defeat stuff, but we actually have a number to kill, or a number to do something with. You got 5 and 10, not fill up a blue bar that we know of right now.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
Till the beta goes live.
I was never a fan of fill up the blue bar. I want to know how many I got to kill.
You got to kill 10 of that guy, 20 of that guy, unless you kill 2 of that guy because he's bigger. And then.
Right. No. No. Kill 5 medics and kill 20 warriors. I'm good. I'm a happy person.
Well, I would prefer poison the medic supplies and then sabotage the warriors and then.
Okay, Rogue.
I'm saying it'd be cool if there's an alternate class specific alternate objective.
There's still going to be
instead of...
there's still going to be a table for you to go to, not the table we have in our podcast, but an actual 4-legged table. He's only 2-legged table.
Yep.
Well, it might be a 1-legged table.
But you go to this table and you get a mission, but it's for the players, not for followers.
Yeah, you are your own follower.
Which is how it was for many years.
Yeah, followers are pretty much done, thank God. So
yeah,
unless you want to go back to your Warlords of Draenor garrison to do all your follower dailies because you feel like you need that gold. But other than that, followers are gone.
Pretty much.
No. I
do kind of wonder what they're going to do with that. If they're going to make it where the old garrisons don't get missions anymore, or it just gets very irrelevant missions. Because as long as there's gold there, there's probably still going to be some people that are sadists or something that want to go and do the follower things real quick. But I'll have to see.
Well, since you're going to have your Garrison Hearthstone,
yeah,
you're going to have your normal Hearthstone, and you're going to have a basically death portal to your class hall. I don't see why you couldn't do that if you really wanted to.
It's like if you really want that 1,500 gold a day.
I'm sure they're going to nerf it in half.
Probably. Well, that's what I mean. Are they going to nerf it, or are they just going to leave it as is? Or...
They're going to have reputation objectives. It seems like they're bringing more focus back on reputations again this expansion. And making it more obtainable, not doing all those daily quests that took forever to do. Mike's favorite, probably, PvP objectives.
Yep. I'm wondering if they're going to... The way they were describing that one, it felt like they were kind of going back to the Burning Crusade thing where you had the place that you had to capture, and then people just showed up, but you could do it all without fighting someone if no one showed up. But kind of wonder if that's what they're going for with the way they were describing it. But
maybe.
At least there's no Asheran or Wintergrasp type thing that they try and say is world content, but it might as well just be an overglorified BG. Oh yeah, it's world PvP. It's in the world. Yeah, and it's instanced. You queue for it. You get teleported there. You do it, and then you get teleported out. Sounds familiar.
Road raid bosses, which we've had for the last couple expansions. Profession missions, which I'm intrigued about.
Maybe like Wrath Profession quests.
And I'm less intrigued about them. Mini games,
which I've been saying they need for a while now.
What mini games?
Yeah, it's like the little mini games you put in for the Cataclysm thing. I thought those were all really cool. Like they really broke the monotony. And if you pace them right and stuff like that, mini games are great for every now and then doing to kind of just break the monotony of killing 200 of this, 500 of that.
Right.
And I've always said they should put more of that in the game. And for the last few expansions, it's like they forgot they could do that. And now they're putting them in. So
We can do that? Huh.
you know that thing we did in Cataclysm that people kind of liked? You know, the Plants vs. Zombies thing? Maybe we could do that. And plus, when they mentioned that one, they mentioned the thing where you roll around, kill gnomes on a ball. They mentioned that one, so
Yeah. I like
I
that
hope
one.
there's another one like that.
And then you're gonna get quests from emissaries in your faction hall. It's region locked, so if you're in the US servers you're gonna be doing, they're all gonna be the same. You're not gonna have to realm hop. You're in oceanic, same thing, EU, etc., etc. These emissary quests will stay around for some time, so you don't feel forced to log in every day to do them. The example they gave was you have to do 5 things for that faction, and we go to your world map, there'll be 10 different ways to complete the quest. I enjoy that. I think it'll be something different.
Yeah, you can take alternate routes each day, or each time you get that quest.
Mike, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sounds good to me so far. It's one of those things, again, have to see on beta to really know how I feel about it. But on paper, it sounds really good.
Dave, why don't you take away the raid section?
All right. I do not have that page open for you.
You don't? I for whatever reason, whenever I made this doc, I only did one of the raids.
Your only interest is the Emerald Nightmare, I guess.
Yeah. There you go, table. It's on my screen now.
All right, so we have the Emerald Nightmare. Has 7 bosses. So just cut our Hellfire Citadel in half, and there we go. We have a different way to get to it, access through the Valshara. We have no idea. I have no idea what that is, anyways.
I believe that's the zone.
Is that the zone? Yeah. So it's kind of like going through the sewers to it, I guess. Suramar Palace. I'm pretty sure that was the Well of Eternity place. What is this about 10 bosses? Are these different raids on it?
Yes, you forgot to separate out the 2 raids. That's why there was only one raid on there, because
I was like, wow. I'm so confused right now.
So the Emerald Nightmare will have the 7 bosses. It's accessed through Valshara. And the second raid is the... Go ahead, table.
The Suramar Palace with 10 bosses. So it looks like we're kind of going in between having more and less bosses in each.
Yeah.
Gul'dan's base of operations, and center of Nightborn civilization.
What I like when they were showing us this stuff is they actually have to have a room before they actually make a boss. And they do a 2D layout before they start doing the 3D stuff. Once they have a 2D, that's when they can start doing the boss layouts and whatnot.
Yep. I think that's how they said it. It's been a while.
And I'm okay with a 7-10 thing. I actually prefer lower boss counts. Now, what I hope doesn't happen with this expansion is the itemization being as off as it was in Warlords between High Maul and Blackrock, and then Blackrock and Hellfire. Blackrock's itemization was just horrible.
I'm kind of hoping it's more like Wrath, because the way that they're kind of pointing out these raids is they're throwing these raids out and announcing them before the game, whereas in WoD they didn't announce BlackRock until after or during the first patch. So maybe we'll see 2 raids on launch.
That'd be cool.
Or a few weeks after.
And they are still going to have it where raids won't be open for the first couple weeks like they did in Warlords, which was cool. I didn't mind that.
Got everybody geared. No pressure to get to it.
Right. And actually, regulators, we hugged the first week it was open. And after that, we just we raided it. We've just been raiding. So.
Raiding it.
Now, dungeons. This is my favorite part. We got 5 leveling dungeons, and we got 5 max level dungeons. 10 dungeons in total.
Yep.
I still hope they add more dungeons in the expansion, though.
Yeah.
Got to keep those relevant.
Through a patch, add more. Give us more.
Yeah. Well, when they add the next raid, if we're sticking with their 2 raid tiers expansion, the second raid needs to come with more 2 or 3 dungeons for storytelling purposes and whatnot.
Yeah,
and gear catch up mechanics.
It's not like they have to be huge dungeons or anything. They can just make them like end times or something.
Right. One of the leveling up dungeons is Eye of Ashara. The second one is Neltharion's Lair. Is that how you say that, Table?
Yep.
Violet Hold. Halls of Valor. Darkheart Thicket. What's cool about these dungeons is they're integrated into the storyline. And just like you can level up in any order you want, you can tackle these dungeons in any order that you want with the scaling technology.
So you have to complete the zone first or something like that?
Do you?
I think I heard them say that. Where you have to quest through the zone first, and at the end of the zone, you go to this leveling dungeon or something.
Dude, that means you can't just dungeon level alts in.
I mean, I could be wrong. Might be able to queue for them, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Is that going to be your excuse?
It's not fresh in my mind anymore. I've moved on to other thoughts.
Keep your thoughts of me only between you and me, okay?
I'm thinking about the possible tattoos.
Podcast.
I'm thinking of these possible tattoos, man.
Mike, take away the max level dungeons.
There are 5 max level dungeons: Vault of the Wardens, Suramar Noble District, Suramar Catacombs, Black Rook Hold, which is towering over Valshara, and it's an ancient elven stronghold. And then you have Helheim, which is a cursed ship of the damned. Think the train dungeon in Warlords, except on a ship. And confront fallen Valkyr Queen Helia.
Now, what they did say was they grabbed every developer and every person they had in the studio who is motion sickness and threw them on the ship encounter, and they were fine. So we're going to be fine too, according to them.
According to Blizzard.
So they say.
I'm so glad Blizzard has an MD now too.
So, yeah. So there's our same definition for fine as soon.
One of the things I did hear about the ship, though, is like from other players through Twitter and stuff, is the rocking of the ship does induce motion sickness. So for certain players. Like,
it's going to be interesting because I think the most sickness people got from the train was whenever you went outside the train, we could see the ground moving past you.
yeah.
I'm wondering if the way they have it set up with your camera angles and everything, if you're not going to notice the swinging as much as they did with the video.
Oh, that video
maybe.
looks so brutal.
It does.
It was like a very small ship. So I'm wondering if you're jumping from like ship to ship.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's going to be in there, but what would be really cool is as it's swaying, your character gets moved.
And your character gets motion sickness.
It could be a boss mechanic.
And if you're just standing there and you get moved, if you're a spellcaster, it doesn't interrupt your spellcasting. That'd just be too brutal.
Yeah.
That can be one of those stones you put into your big stone for the dungeon. But that'd just be interesting, I think. They plan to keep all these dungeons relevant in both difficulty and reward. Go ahead, take it away, Table.
And an example of that is challenge mode. We'll have challenge keystone, and the power level of the stone determines the difficulty of the reward. You can add additional modifiers. Well, I'm not sure it's you, but they add modifiers to it each week, such as enemy enrages at 30% and do 100% more damage. Extra enemies, corpses explode on the ground when you kill them, or all players take damage over time. If you beat the time, you can upgrade the stone. The time would be easier. The time is easier in the new expansion than it is in WoD to reach. So if you wanted gold, it would be about the same time as Warlords to get silver. If you fail, the stone will be depleted. All those modifiers will be wiped.
But you still get loot.
You still get the loot. Not as good loot, but it's still loot.
Right.
So far, there's no information about how to get the stone. And the dungeon will scale, not the player.
Which is cool, because like right now, with the Time Walker, it's down the player down. You have those of us who are kind of cheesing the mechanic by putting on older gear to wreck it.
Yeah. Plus, I like how by the dungeon scaling up, it makes you feel more powerful instead of you suddenly feel weak. Seems to make more sense lore-wise for immersion purposes and all that.
Right. And then the Q&A section. I love the fact that Jesse Cox was doing it.
That was good. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
That was fun. One of the questions was, will sub races be available? Sub races of each race we currently have, and sometimes they'll be available, but not most likely not in Legion. There's more organized guild options that may be available later in expansions. I liked a lot of what they brought up, and there were some that was like, I don't know how I feel about that. One was being in more than one guild. So you have your raiding guild, you have your RP guild, you have your social guild, whatever.
That sounds like it could get very drama heavy very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this guild suddenly hates this guild, but I have friends in both guilds and I'm in both guilds, but they want me to G-quit this guild, but I don't want to G-quit this guild. And then
Right.
That's fine. I can chill out in the third guild.
Just hide in the third guild. I'm not here. I'm not here. I'm not here.
The more organized options I would like to see would be an in-game message board for your guild only, where you can communicate again in-game, not having to go to a guild forum or a Facebook page.
Agreed. No more sending mass mails in the mailbox, stuff like that.
Right. And whenever someone posts something, it's just like your calendar, it flashes. You just go look at it if you want to.
Yep.
Something like that. Something small like that would be a world of difference.
Why hasn't someone made a mod of this yet?
I believe there is a mod or add-on, but every member of your guild has to have it.
That's impossible.
And I tried messing with it, and it's just crazy broken.
Is it?
Yeah, it has issues syncing up with people.
We all know the flying achievement will be in at launch, but you won't be able to complete it at launch.
I'm fine with that.
I just hope it doesn't take a very long time for it to become available.
I doubt they'd do that again, though. It seems like they've learned their lesson this time, but it's Blizzard, so nothing's guaranteed. Everything is trademarked as soon.
And Mike can attest to this. I was okay waiting for flying until 6.1. I was. After that, I wanted to fly. And the first thing I did when they gave us flying was I went to the tops of mountains and I looked at stuff and I saw little campfires that are up there, little stones or stuff like that. I enjoy seeing stuff like that.
So they need to, or they. It seems like they've already sort of had their internal and external argument on it, on the whole flying thing, which seemed to be what was holding them up in Warlords in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So at least that's out of the way, hopefully, until someone in the office suddenly decides that they want to bring it up again, maybe. So hopefully they got all that out of the way. Hopefully they finally made their stand and all this. And so hopefully that won't be one of the negatives for Legion. Hopefully there won't be any negatives, but, you know.
Take 4 through 8.
There's a cameo for Bolvar, our new Lich King. He's going to be in it. And it's about time. There is more detailed mechanics on tapping mobs. So if I'm doing a quest and there's somebody that's just like massacring everything, I can go in and start tapping mobs with him. So I'm not missing out on my quest. Content will not be rushed to meet the 1-year release and expansions. Do you guys have any thoughts on that one?
That's good. I'd rather them take 2 years to give us a good expansion opposed to 1 year and give us a expansion.
Yeah, I thought that we were going to start getting stuff like half content, full price.
Yeah. No.
Nothing for guilds like guild housing, but the multi-guild idea.
I really like the idea that the guild quest thing. I like the idea of being able to give guild members quests to go do stuff and take money from the player or from the guild bank.
Yeah. Starting zones will not change in the invasion.
And that's the original starting zones for the classes. But as I said, that might be a good idea, get them when they're young. Can you imagine it making a level 1 character and loading up for the first time and you see this big demon coming after you, level 110, and you go, well, I'm done. It's been nice. Mike, take the next 4.
Dalaran will be upgraded and is protected. Which kind of figured that.
How are they going to upgrade it? Are they going to add cannons to it?
Just mage stuff.
Anti-demon cannons?
Maybe arcane cannons where they shoot their arcane powers through a conduit and it shoots towards a demon or something.
Well, have you guys been keeping up on the whole data being pulled off the beta builds?
I haven't.
For the most part.
They have Dalaran parked right over Karazhan. So they could be loading a defense from there. More magic bullets.
There you go.
So, they'll get around to fixing the park in Stormwind someday. Most likely not Legion.
So, if we're not going to fix in Legion, I really hope that Stormwind gets blown up.
Then they can't get around to fixing it.
Then they're like,
You know what?
No.
Blow up all of Stormwind. That's fine. Bring the park back.
No.
The Legion regrow the park. But they destroy the rest of the city.
You just see demons sitting on the lawn, play with flowers. I like this dandelion.
This is the whole reason for our invasion. We were just so pissed off that Park of Stormwind got destroyed that we decided to amp up our invasion so we could come back here to fix it for you.
It's been so long.
So Jarrus decided to take matters into his own hands.
Screw
you, Metzen. I'm doing this now.
I hope that we lose at the end of this expansion and we have to take it back over next expansion and rebuild everything, including the park.
Maybe hire some of those druids in the what's it called, Nashuran or something, where the Emerald Nightmare is. Some of those supposedly high-powered druids to come rebuild it for us.
Next.
Every stone for challenge modes will have the same keystones on everyone. And it changes each week.
Yeah.
That sentence is hard to read.
There needs to be a comma there.
So it changes each week, and everyone will have the same stone. So you don't have to be looking for looking for someone with this specific stone because I want it or something. So, of course, that's probably not going to be the reasoning behind it. But
let's let Table take care of number 12 because I think he's big up on that one.
So, yeah, we get to find out from what they said, anyways, what it means to have Legion throughout all realms and not limited to the timeline. So, duplicates or not, we'll find out.
Nice. Scenarios exist, but as part of the world, like the Broken Shore 40-man 2020 raid. I'm okay with that. I was never a big fan of scenarios myself. And you guys can disagree with me. Whatever. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
I thought it was a fairly good push in storyline.
I'm cool with scenarios for a storyline push like that. What was the island of Thunder? Thunder Isles? No.
Throne of Thunder?
Yeah, but what's the island called?
Thundervania. I can't remember either.
Isle of Thunder.
Okay. I like the scenarios there where whenever you progressed on the storyline for opening the island up, you got to do a little mini scenario. That was fun. But the ones where you queued up to go keep an ape from taking bananas or barrels or something, it was
Taking your brew.
Whatever it was. There is catch-up mechanics in place for off-spec weapons and skills, so wait to see what that's all about. All specs open to specialization changes. What was that one about, Table?
No more dual spec. You have all the specs open. You can
Okay.
change across them all.
Okay. Alts will have more catch-up mechanics to help out. Care will be relevant again. Take it away, Table.
Artifacts will show what's going on in Terrace Falglades.
Finally.
Rethyon may be in High Mountain. We only saw him once, as far as I know, in Warlords at the final phase of the ring.
Yeah.
Breaking long raids down into smaller multiple raids.
I don't mind that.
No, it's pretty nice for being able to choose what you want to do and having a different scenery each week.
Right.
Artifacts are tied to Legion and will only be in Legion so it'll be a limited time.
Now, do you think that this artifact thing is a test for something bigger down the line?
I don't think it was just a test. If they're giving us like big storyline weapons, then I think that they're just kind of throwing more out at it. For weapon scaling, I think that it's a good idea because you replace your weapon, that's your largest DPS change, heal change, and tank change.
Mm-hmm.
Besides tank, I mean shield.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's going to be really weird going from Legion, where you kept the same weapon, you just empowered it, and it was a lore weapon, to shelving it for the next expansion.
Well, we don't really have any other lore stuff to replace it with.
Right, but those weapons have been throughout almost every expansion. So why they all of a sudden become irrelevant?
Well, I kind of feel like it's more of you're surpassing that weapon now at this point. Like, that weapon was super powerful for Legion. You powered it up to its max power and you just can't power it up anymore. And so you found another weapon that's even more powerful from the latest threat, whatever that happens to be, or something like that, maybe.
What I'm trying to get to is I hope they stick with this style for weapons, not replacing weapons, just empowering them.
They might. They're probably just going to do a wait and see approach to see how this works out first. But
they're not going to do legacy servers. And reason behind that, they said was the bugs are going to be there. They have to dedicate manpower to fixing it, and the game now will not run on the hardware it was designed for originally. So you have to get the old hardware again to run the old stuff.
Not to mention it would fracture the player base into different expansions.
Right. So, I'm okay with that. I've never really wanted the legacy servers.
Or anyone who does want legacy servers, go play the Magic the Gathering games, the Duels of the Planeswalker, and you might find out why they don't want it. You might realize why they... Well, if you're in the card games. If you're not in the card games, you'll just have a miserable time trying to figure it.
Like me!
But that Duels of the Planeswalker is a good example of why you don't have legacy servers, because it fractures the player base, and then you're just waiting forever on a queue for multiplayer. It's just horrible.
Language barrier will still exist in the class hall, with the exception, and they're playing with it, is the Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
Be able to talk demonic.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they will let you. Maybe. TM.
It might be a test to see how Alliance and Horde interact using just one class, because if they start yelling at each other, they just say, nope, can't do it, done.
I don't see too much of a problem, because there are other games that both sides of the PvP fight can talk to each other. So Like they do that in Blade and Soul, for instance.
I'd be okay with out in the world if you're just talking, no problem. You can understand each other. But if you're fighting, you talk in your native tongue, so you don't know what the enemy. So you don't want the enemy to know what your plan is.
Yeah, decode your or encrypt your communications with your partners and stuff.
Yeah.
Make it an actual language so you can study it and figure it out yourself.
I am kind of curious though if they only allow demon hunters to talk cross faction, if that's going to become a way for demon hunters to sort of make money every now and then as a translator. Looking for demon hunter to translate my insults to this horde player. Or to help coordinate a auction house transfer to my horde guild. Auction house transfer of items. Something like that. Kind of wonder if that's actually going to become a thing, if that makes it live.
Greymane will play a big part in its expansion, which is good because I only ever recall seeing him doing the Worgen starting zone.
He was kind of there and then kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go in game to see him currently.
Yes.
Like if you could visit any of the other leaders for any of the other races and you know where they are. And yet Greymane, I'm like, where I forget, where did he end up again? Where's my leader? Maybe.
Let's see here.
I feel the same with Mechatark. Just kind of vanish every once in a while, and then he just appears every once in a while, and then he's gone again.
Mike, take the rest away.
PvP gear will be in drop boxes, but will be the same as open world gear.
What's that mean?
I can't remember the context of that one.
Yeah,
it just sounds like good.
Since they're doing away with PvP gear, I'm assuming that has to do with just matching an item level of what they want PvP to be.
That's what I think.
Like the greens that drop in the world, it'll pretty much be the same thing.
Yeah, that's my.
Since you'll be wearing PvE gear because there is no PvP gear, then that makes sense, I guess. But I'm glad they're doing away with PvP gear. I just hope the new system provides the same reward of doing good at PvP, and it looks like it will, but it's one of those things you have to see in the beta. So, next one is increasing rolls on classes will not happen at this time, aka lock tank.
So they're working really hard to get all the classes to the fantasy that they should fit.
Yeah.
And adding a lock tank right now would just destroy what they're working towards.
Yeah, it'd make things way more complicated than it needs to be right now.
Although
we're trying to establish a class fantasy, but we also want to work this tank in here. How do we do this? Oh, we've established class fantasy, but we forgot about tank. Oh, we got to make the tank change. Oh, that destroys the class that kind of thing. Just going back and forth on it.
What are you gonna say, Table?
Gnome hunters. They fulfill everybody's fantasies, anyways.
Yeah, I noticed they were adding gnome hunters. Then there's small UI changes such as nameplates in Legion, which it's always nice to see some UI changes as long as they don't get in the way or anything.
Right.
And from what I've seen of the nameplates in Legion, they look a little more streamlined, slimmed down, from what I could tell. I haven't had them on in a while, so I've actually kind of forgotten what they look like now. But that's just because I haven't been out in the world or PvPing as much. If I PvP, I turn them right on. But class accessories may be implemented in Legion. Maybe. TM. So those poison pouches and arrow quivers and all that they've been teasing might be Legion to get around to it.
That's cool.
They said they have some of them already kind of done, but the artifact weapons kind of put them on hold. So maybe they're far enough along that we may actually see them, but we'll see.
Here's hoping.
They made a few of them, and instead of actually making them as an accessory, they decided to scrap it. As an example, they used them as belts.
Is that where the bell belt comes from?
The bell belt, the dagger belt, the book with the paladin.
Okay. So, after we've gone over everything from BlizzCon, how'd you guys feel about it?
Felt good enough to buy the expansion.
That's good.
But I feel pretty good about this expansion so far. The vibe with it has been a lot better than going into both Myths and Warlords. I'm still a little bit standoffish, but that's not going to go away until either I'm in beta or until I've seen some videos of the beta and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Seen it actual in practical use. Then maybe the standoffishness will go away a little bit, but just with the last few expansions, it's kind of instilled that into me, like most of the player base probably. So,
Right.
But so far, I like a lot of what they're doing. A lot of it seems to be stuff that I've seen on the forums that players have been begging for, or some player has suggested at some point, including there's some stuff in there that I at one point put on the forums. I would like to see this. Not saying I'm the only one that did, but so there's a lot of listening to the player base that is actually evident here versus the other expansions where you couldn't really see a lot of that. But I'm very interested to see how the PvP changes are going to work practically. But
yeah, from all the little changes that I've seen in it, I've kind of been referencing this expansion as a player-made expansion from all the requests that people have been giving. It's a bunch of little things, so I'm not really expecting them all to be implemented, but it does look like they've put work into all of it.
I really got for looking at the zones, I got a Wrath vibe from it. Looking at the new hero class and looking at what they talked about going to be in the game, and I really hope they learn to, when they announce something, to keep it in there in some fashion. I really, it got me excited for the expansion. That's why I also pre-ordered it. But at the same time, I want to see how it plays out. I want to be in a beta. I want to test it out. I want to get my grubby little hands on it.
So far, it kind of feels like a mash of one part player ideas, one part Wrath, one part Burning Legion, just put together in a big ball, and then that's what it feels like to me anyway.
Now, I'm thinking beyond it, going, if it is successful, how are they going to top it?
Well, hopefully they can keep the ball rolling and they don't just fizzle out.
Mm-hmm.
More mini games.
Oh yeah. World of Warcraft book.
They're gonna have Dark Moonfair as the main expansion.
Oh God. Yay, I'm riding a spring horse. Woohoo!
The trailer is just the Dark Moon Fair guy just saying, "Welcome to the Dark Moon Fair. We have 200 more mini games for you to play." They show Raid the Boss, and it's just like a cardboard cutout of a boss that like 25 people have to hit.
I think I would actually shoot my screen. I'd walk upstairs, grab a shotgun, walk back downstairs, and just shoot. And go, nope.
I quit video games.
Hello, arts and crafts. How are you?
I'm going to learn how to do origami. Origami, you won't let me down.
5 seconds later, screw this!
Nerf paper.
You guys ready to move on to the class previews?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
The one thing I'd like to mention while we're making the transition, it looks like we're going to get tattoos. Like, a lot of the armor models that they released recently, it seems like a lot of them have tattoos on them.
That's cool.
Just something I noticed while looking through the armor models is a lot of them look like they come with like there's this male version they released where it has like a dragon tattoo. So it's not official tattoos, but I figure
Alternate Demon Hunter tattoos?
well, it's part of the male set they released, so I'm wondering if maybe it's just like a shirt or something, or like a tunic you could transmog, or obviously you need in-game context to actually know what it is, but be interesting, I think.
All right, so the first one we're going to bring up here is the Death Knight, and looking at the Blood Death Knight. I do like the fact that they're changing everything to one rune for a Death Knight.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And these changes for the blood from someone who's only tanked as a Blood Death Knight 4 times in my career as tanking, I can see from me as stepping back into trying to tank on DK, I think I would like them. How about you two?
I think they've added Bone Storm. I haven't really played around with my Death Knight too much to really be able to understand most of these changes. I just leveled her up, and now she's sitting in the garrison.
Nice.
So I don't really have too much of an opinion on Death Knights, but I'm glad they're going back down to one rune, because while leveling up my Death Knight, that was one of my major complaints is, why are there so many runes? This one changes to a death rune every now and then. This one doesn't. What?
Well, it was in Wrath. It was a lot easier. You had your blood, your frost, and your plague, disease, whatever it's called.
Unholy.
Unholy. Thank you. And you had 3 abilities that use that rune, or one of those runes. You had your blood attack, your frost attack, and you had your unholy attack. And then you had a filler that would use up either any one of them or a combination of that plus a death rune. So there was very little downtime back in Wrath, at least on Holy DK, on having ruins. And then that all changed. To even when I DPS, I'm like, I need a ruin. Come on, I need a ruin. Table, your thoughts on the Blood DK?
My only thought is if somebody doesn't make an add-on for Bone Shield that says Bone Storm, they are crazy.
This is like back whenever Death Knights were first out and everybody macroed Death Grip to get over here.
Yeah.
Guilty.
I like how when they do add abilities to the Death Knight, it's all like Ice Crown Citadel abilities that are just being added to the Death Knight repertoire.
It kind of
What
makes
should we
me
do
think
for
of
Death Knight?
it kind of makes me think of the quest for the weapon. I wonder if they're gonna have us go through and make these skills a little different.
That'd be cool. The Frost DK, that's one I have leveled the last 2 expansions as. And again, looking at these changes, I personally don't have a problem with any of them. And what's making even easier is the fact going to having one type of ruin. You are going to have to watch yourself and not overcommit on doing Howling Blast, for example, and misusing Obliterate instead. But I like these changes for the Frost DK. Mike, table?
No opinion.
So hold on. Before you go, table, Mike, are you gonna have any opinion on any other class besides the rogue?
Maybe.
That's no. Table?
I have played it. My Death Knight is unholy, so I know nothing about Frost and nothing about Blood, so and I barely know anything about Unholy, but
You can't see it, but I'm face palming right now. Table, what are your takes on the Frost changes?
I see too much Obliterate. I just think that it's too overpowering to have everything cover one skill. But that's just. I mean, every class has one skill that they're really overpowered with, or something of that. But this makes me feel like I have to have Obliterate every chance that I get in my rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that it's just a little bit too much.
just macro that to a saying every time you hit Obliterate, it's like Obliterate, 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 Obliterate. Just see Death Knight doing that in the raid.
You also gotta wait and see what the artifact thing changes too. You might get a entirely new spell from your artifact that completely replaces Obliterate.
I probably would not be playing Frost then, because like Killing Machine and Mastery definitely have a huge effect on it.
Right, but what if that ability replaces and still takes advantage of stuff like that?
Counts as Obliterate.
So basically, it would be Obliterate with a different name and maybe a different effect.
And maybe it has a cooldown.
Then it would be pretty much the same thing.
Like maybe they could do Obliterate with a cooldown that does more damage to compensate for the cooldown.
Or does some other effect. It can do the same exact damage, but it now puts a different type of dot on there.
Instead of Obliterate, it's Decimate.
And the Unholy DK. Mike, you take the Unholy DK because you have one.
They are pretty much what I can remember, so it's mostly they're just looks like they're putting more emphasis on the diseases from what I could tell. And that's pretty much all I got. Other than the one rune will make things a whole lot easier, because one of the things while playing Unholy that I found was once you're out of Unholy runes, you don't really use the other 4 runes. And I did notice there were points where I was sort of like waiting around for my rune to cool down and stuff like that. So it'd be nice to have the one rune thing. Looks like it's pretty much the same though, where you try and keep your diseases up and move them from to all the targets and all that other stuff.
It looks like they're going more with the managing your diseases and managing a minion.
Yeah.
Which you already had to manage a minion. It's unholy.
Well, I might say that I completely forgot I had a minion when I was leveling.
That's that.
True story.
You actually hurt my head there.
Well, I put the Death Knight down for a little while, and then I came back, and the Death Knight was at level 89, I think, when I came back. And I logged in the game, didn't have my undead minion next to me, and I didn't even think about maybe I should summon it. So I went to all the questing up to like level 98, and then I saw the button, and I hit it, and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to have that out the whole time, huh? And then I sort of used it off and on from that point on. If it died, I completely forgot about it.
You know you had an ability that transformed him into a big hulking thing that did more damage, right?
Yeah, but I just didn't think about
It glows when you get enough points for it.
Yeah, but things were dead by the time it glowed, so it was like, what's the point?
Table, how about you on Unholy DKs?
I'd like more visual effects for diseases, and that's it. I'm just hoping for that.
I'm hoping for all classes to have a pet that if your pet's not out, it puts a big "you're doing it wrong" across your screen. And big neon lights.
Well, I would like
and glows.
One thing I would like actually is the Raise Ally and Raise Dead abilities both have the exact same icon.
No, the Raise Ally one's later.
So they look exactly the same to me.
Macro it with a different icon then.
Well, Blizzard should change the icon to look different. It's their job. Because I had them right next to each other on the bar, and the reason I even found out I had the Raise Dead one is because I'm like, why do I have that my res spell twice on my bar? So I cooked them both, and one of them brought a Geist. So anyway, druids. So druids are a thing.
Looking at balance.
Well, what about the affinities?
Go ahead, Mike. Take away the affinities. Go ahead, Mike. Apparently you know something about druids. Go for it.
It's head-hurting science right here. You got affinities, and from their description, they provide two benefits. First is a passive ability that is useful at all times, even in your main role. The second, access to multiple key abilities that you to use in associated shapeshift forms to give you a sense of how choosing your affinity will impact gameplay, blah, blah, and then they put examples. And it's like balance affinity. Your astral influence increases the range of all spells, abilities, and auto attacks by 5 yards. And then I guess if you change to another form, it changes to something else. I don't know. The way they describe it, I'm not really understanding exactly what it is. But it sounds like if I was a balanced druid and I switched to cat form, it would give me an ability that made me more effective in cat form. Like, not super effective, obviously, because you're a balanced druid. You need to be a chicken, but that's what I get from reading it. I don't know about you guys.
Table?
I think some of it has a unique thing to bring, but some of it's just a lot better than others. Like the Guardian one, all damage taken is reduced by 10%, whereas Feral for cats, you're just 10% faster. I guess if you get knocked back, you can run back to the boss faster.
Right.
So it's just I don't think that It's really tuned and balanced, but it's kind of a
They,
neat thing to have to make it where if you change your spec, or not spec, but if you change into one that you're not specialized in, then you'll have some kind of bonus to it still.
like the restoration affinity constantly heals a druid or allies when the druid's health is at full. That's
I think that was a talent point, actually.
was it?
Yeah. Except you didn't have to be at full health. You just kind of just healed something on the side.
May I move on to balance now, Mike? Are we good?
I'm, I'm still confused on it, but sure. I guess I'm mostly not sure is when you're a balanced druid, do you pick one of the affinities or does that just happen when you've done the shapeshift form? Like, they don't really explain it too well, but from what they're saying.
I thought these were just you pick balance as your spec, and here's the affinity. Here's what you get. You pick feral. Here's what you get. Pick
Well, they say
guardian,
it's a
here's what you
whole
get.
row of talents, and I think that's part that's kind of confusing me. They're replacing Heart of the Wild with a full row of affinity talents, which essentially allow every druid to choose an off spec from the remaining 3 specializations. So it's because they're trying to make the different shapeshift forms relevant. So I'm trying to figure out, like these passives that they state you get. It kind of sounds like they're saying you just get those by being such spec, but when you shapeshift, you get another ability. Or I don't know. We could just move on to balance.
I don't play a druid. I don't know.
It's not a
Well,
play
let me take it back.
thing. It's a figuring out the wording thing.
I play a druid. Somewhat. I push whatever flashes at me.
It's just something that was kind of hurting my head about the whole druid.
Oh no! You don't get a chance. That can't hurt your head. Not having your minion out for over 10 levels, that hurts my head.
Well, that just proves that the minion isn't as essential as they're trying to make it.
You're the reason they're changing Unholy DKs.
But I was still effective without my demon out, so demon obviously doesn't provide that much additional DPS for leveling. Because I was still killing everything in like 2 hits.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with all the heirloom gear you had on, you know. So, talking to Urs about balanced, I almost called it Moonkin. About balanced. He likes the way it's going. It's more defined on what you should actually be pushing, opposed to now where you can accidentally push the wrong spell and the wrong lunar effect or sun effect happening. It seems like they're getting a little more powerful. Of course, you know, Baluster is even more powerful, huh? Table?
Did I hear him right when they said that they were getting rid of the bar, the little UI that changes back and forth between it?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah, they're getting rid of the sun and
that's what I avoided Moonkin completely for. Yeah, if they did away with that, it'd be just like having another mage to me. I wouldn't mind it.
I think
More
they're
dots, kind of like
replacing
halfway through dots.
Astral power is now the resource. That's what it says. So it used to be the Eclipse bar, and now they're replacing the Eclipse bar with astral power, which they build up.
Yeah, that's not so bad. It's kind of like a rage for casters, I guess.
Maybe. We shall see.
The changes to Feral, they're trying to pull it away from being so roguelike. They're trying to make it its own ferocious killing beast. And that's what actually kept me away from playing a Pharaoh Druid, was the fact that I'm a rogue, but I'm on all fours. So these changes, I don't see a horrible change with them. It still looks like the same druid to me. Mike?
Yeah, same here. It just looks like the same old cat druid that it can be a rogue and you wouldn't even know the difference.
Yep, pretty much.
For me, cat druid always just felt like playing sub rogue. So it still looks like it's going to feel that way. Of course, sub rogue is different, so but it'll feel like playing current sub rogue as a cat.
Right. The Guardian Druid. It's. Why don't you take the Guardian Druid away first, Mike or Table? You guys pick.
Mike, you go.
Guardian druids. They're trying to make them more not dodge tanks, but more stand there and take it tanks. And they're trying to bring them more away from dodging and more towards just taking the damage, it seems like. So they're going to get more strong regeneration abilities, more resilient abilities and stuff like that, so they can just sort of take the boss's punches instead of dodging out of the way, which I think makes more sense for a bear. I mean, that's how I always thought it worked anyway. Apparently it doesn't, but...
And they're also making it so you put effects on the boss or minion or whatever, and you take less damage.
Yeah.
But increase the damage you do.
Yeah, you make ways to mitigate how much damage you take, but you're still just taking the full brunt of the blow instead of dodging out of the way.
From a tank aspect, I don't care for that. You're essentially saying, well, here's a whole bunch of HP. Hope you live.
I could see as a healer that could be a little intense. But...
Well, I think the issue we run into right now is that a lot of tanks that are bears don't understand that they're also supposed to be healing themselves and not just doing the tanking abilities for offensive and aggro. So we have these healers that are panicking while they're healing through bears already, even if they're like dodging at the same time. But it's an issue that's been ongoing since, I don't know, BC. That I don't see druids healing themselves as bears. I personally think that bear is a very good tank if they're doing it right. I don't have to heal bears as much on my healing classes.
I've never actually had to heal a bad bear, so most of the bears I've healed seem decent. Of course, that was way back in Cataclysm, so things have changed since then. But they're also making a lot of changes to all the healers, like the priest thing where they could just heal full health on a crit. So,
right.
Speaking of healers, Resto.
Who plays the Resto druid?
Curse. Why didn't you invite him to this one?
Looking at it, at the healing side of things, it doesn't look like there's very much change from what I recall from whenever I did Resto for a short time. Short time being like 2 days.
Cooldowns seem like they're higher. And that really seems like the only thing to me.
Yeah.
still looks like it's mostly heal over time heavy.
That's what a druid usually is a hot.
Yeah. And it feels like they're just strengthening that feeling from what I've seen them.
Yeah.
So
Like,
just
literally every skill on this list is already in the game and pretty much says it does the same thing.
it's the only real major one is, and only really different one is the flourish, which extends duration of all your hots on friendly targets with 60 yards by 10 seconds. So if that's supposed to tell you how the class is supposed to play, then obviously your hots are your big deal. But that's always sort of been druid, so it just feels like they're strengthening the class a little more. That feeling.
Right. I don't opposed to other healing changes. I don't mind this one. Let's see. Our next class is a hunter.
Yep.
Come on. There we go. It wasn't who I told to. So, this is one of the biggest changes for all the classes in Legion. You got your Beast Hunter. That, with the exception of a few abilities, it seems like it's going to be what a Beast Hunter or Beastmaster Hunter is right now.
Minus the traps.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of summoning a bunch of pets and playing off those pets.
And it makes sense. If you're a Beastmaster, you should be doing that.
Yeah.
Now, survival.
Melee hunter!
With a pet.
Yeah. Which is basically like an unholy death knight, am I right?
Oh, we only just found that out.
I like the reverse death grip they have.
Yeah. There you go. Survival is the reverse unholy death knight. Does everything unholy death knight. Holy death knight. There you go. Add that to the game. It's paladin.
But besides being melee, the opposite with a survival hunter is with Beastmaster, you're buffing your pets. You're making your pets do more damage. Survival,
your pets with you.
Help you out. Like your mastery, you have a chance to gain extra charges on Mongoose Bite from your pet's attacks.
Yeah, it's like you're commanding your pet to do stuff, but you're not heavily based on your pet.
Right.
Like you're punching the guy and you just say, bite his kneecap off, or bite him in the balls.
Table, how do you feel about survival hunters?
All I gotta say is wing clip. It makes me feel happy.
You know, when I read that, when I was reading the hunter overview and I read wing clip, the first thing I thought was, oh wow, Table's gonna have an orgasm.
Nice. And then marksman.
No pet.
No pet. Again, looking over this, with the exception of a few abilities again, it seems it's going to be what you currently are as marksman. But like I said, a few abilities that make you more sniper-like with a bow and arrow. Right, bow and arrow? Did I get that? Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, Beastmaster gets the gun and marksman gets the bow and arrow.
Well, the gun scares the pets more than it does the bow, so that loud bang.
Who's in charge.
Well, yeah. You don't want to scare your pets. They're your friends as a Beastmaster.
but you want to make sure they listen to you.
Well, that's when you
Kind of
bite
like
them on
jockeys. Kind of like jockeys with a whip.
the ear. You got to bite your pets on the ear. That's how they listen to you.
Mike, do you bite your cat on the ear?
No, but I hear that's what they do for the wolf guys in Alaska. I forget what they're called. The sled dogs things.
So, Table, how do you feel about marksman?
Um, I like it. I think that they need like penetration stuff that bypasses armor, things that make them feel like they're more of a piercing class.
Okay.
I think that it would be nice to have like high crit damage rather than a steady stream of normal.
I see them as Arrow from the TV show.
What TV show, Mike?
Arrow. Mostly the thing that makes me think of that is their lock and load ability that makes their aim shot explode. But oh, hey, it's Green Arrow. If they put that costume in game, then that'll be hilarious, though. Like a hunter-specific transmog.
So, mages. Arcane. Table, you're going to be carrying the bulk of this one.
Yeah, we have a mage. This is the one we have.
No way. That's awesome. We're all prepared.
Illidan would be proud.
You and me have talked about the mage changes, with the exception of fire.
Oh, there is some pretty good news. Evocation. Apparently, you can use that on other people. So, I forgot what that skill was called for druids, but we can give mana back
Innervate.
to healers. Yeah,
Innervate.
Innervate.
Yeah.
So, basically, our evocation turns into Innervate for Arcane.
Nice.
Although, you might want to hold on to it. It looks like we'll need it as Arcane.
Yeah. The biggest thing I when looking at the Arcane is I think it's going to be less dependent on having to have all those procs up for you to damage. And if you don't have those procs, you're might as well go up him with your staff. Am I wrong, Table?
Your shiny new artifact staff.
Well, for mages, anyways, there was one skill that you kept using for Arcane that would make your magic damage higher, and the more you used it, the more mana it took. So if you did that at the beginning of a fight and you ran out of mana, you'd be hitting them with your staff anyways, because you're just like bad of luck.
It looks like that's changing, right?
A little bit, not too much though.
But you're gonna have a higher mana regeneration and max mana with your mastery thing.
Yeah. As far as mastery goes, but we'll have to see if that's still going to be the main stat.
Right. Overall, I personally like the changes to Arcane. It seems like to be something I could probably actually play and not worry about keeping track of 27 different procs and make sure I'm actually doing damage. Opposed to giving them a massage with my missiles.
No, because everything that you want to click is already lit up anyways.
I've never done fire, so I really don't know anything about fire. Table?
I haven't really looked into the changes too much in Fire, but I may actually be trying out Fire next expansion. With all the dots that they do, and it just looks like it's glorified Warlock as it is now. With a few good AoEs.
Right. And Frost. It changes to Frost.
Oh, biggest change to Frost, multi-strike. since they're not going to have multi-strike. We're going to be changing our stats up. So I'm thinking that we're going to probably start just loading into crit. Since we're not really counting on multi-strike to build up our ice lance as much, it's kind of just a toss-up to see what we're going to be playing with next time, because it's definitely going to be a huge rotation change when it comes to ice lance.
And the biggest thing I'm seeing from the changes from Frost is you're using nothing but Frost abilities. I don't see them mentioning that Fire Frost, whatever it's called here.
Yeah. There's no Frost Firebolt on it. They took that off, which was fine with me. That was kind of just in the way. Makes me wonder what they're going to do with the set bonus. If that's just going to be nullified, or they'll just be like, oh yeah, well, since that one's out, maybe Frozen Orb just does like 10% more damage instead of Frostfire doing 20% more damage on the tier set.
There you go. So overall, the Frost, I don't got a problem with. The Arcane, I like the changes in Fire. I don't know enough, even reading the changes, to make a educated guess on it. Mike?
I've got nothing because I have not touched a frost mage. So it looks like they'll be good in PvP. That's about all I got.
Monks.
Oh boy. Should we give you a minute?
Okay, well let's just bury this right now and move on to the next
silence. Moment of silence for our friend Slaw. Okay. Just take your time. Few deep breaths. Count to 10.
Putting the Iron Skin Brew and the Purifying Brew on the same charge cooldown, I hate that. You're telling me to choose between getting rid of the damage I'm taking or increasing survivability. Piss off. Expel Harm's gone. That's fine, because the gift of the Ox, you get healed more to lower your health. It's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them wanting to move a Brewmaster to the staggering all stuff away from the guards, which okay, but the defense changes is really taking what I enjoy from the class away. What drew me to the class. Then the offensive abilities, there's not much change there except for Tagger Palm requiring energy. But if we're not using energy or chi to do a purifying, then it makes sense to make it use energy. I'm not a fan of these Brewmaster changes whatsoever. I want to get my hands on the beta. I want to try it out, because these changes here might just be retiring my monk tank.
You heard it here first. His monk is old.
Yeah.
It's about to go on Social Security.
Expansion and a half, because I didn't start tanking on her till halfway through MOP. Moving on. Either of you ever try healing on a monk?
Nope.
No, I've seen a lot of people complaining about fist weaving though, but I haven't really tried it.
It looks like they're going away from that though.
Yeah, the fist weaving isn't going to join us.
Yeah.
And in a way, I'm thinking maybe that will help out with the monk healers, because you either had a good monk healer or a bad monk healer. There was no in between.
I was on the bad spectrum.
So hopefully, not broadening, narrowing down what a monk healer can do will bring us okay monk healers. Because we had far more bad than we had good monk healers.
One thing that I noticed is for this one, they're moving away from attack healing. And later we're going to talk about discipline priests, which they're moving towards attack healing. So it feels like they're what?
Either of you have any input on a Mistweaver?
And nothing too major. Just
Yeah, not too much.
it just looks mostly like they're getting rid of the whole beating someone up to heal them thing.
And then Windwalker, looking at, there's not that much of a change, with the exception of our Fist of Fury can be done while moving, which is great. There's been so many times where I start doing it and the tank moves the boss. And whenever it's a bad timing on my part because there's something going to happen on the ground or whatever, my bad. But when there's nothing happening, they just move the boss, it drives me crazy. Other than that, I don't really see that big of a change on the Windwalker side.
It looks about the same as I remember it when I first looked at it a while ago. I only really looked up the guide for it because I was thinking of leveling up my monk, and all this stuff looks pretty much the same.
And next is Paladins. Who has a Holy Paladin here?
Nope. I have a prop
Nope.
paladin that I barely played, but that is the extent of my paladinness. And I live with a retribution paladins.
I think I live with a Retribution Paladin. From what I can remember from when I actually did heal, it's not that big of a change for a Holy Paladin. The mana cost might have gone up, and there might be more of a cast time on some of this stuff. But it's nothing, to me, game changing, with the exception of the light of my Artarar table.
Wait, what?
This word.
Martyr?
Okay. Sacrificing your health for healing a friend. It's almost like the ability Hand of Sacrifice, where you would take damage opposed to the person you had it on. And I use that a lot whenever I tanked on a paladin with somebody else. I knew a big attack was coming in, especially if they were under geared. I cast out on them, take away some of the damage. Hell, even back in Mist, Cougar and myself, we used on each other religiously on some of the encounters. A big attack's coming in, we would do our active mitigation, but the other team would also cast that, so we would take less damage. Protection, first of all, they're getting rid of the holy power for protection.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm enjoying. I enjoy that.
Definitely.
And after that, it really feels like it's gonna be another prop paladin before holy power was introduced.
Yeah, I like that they're combining the AOE thing with Crusader Strike, so that if you're standing in Consecration now, it just does the AOE. Because I hated having both those abilities on my bar and then forgetting to hit one or the other when for the right situation.
And people who are upset about the Shield of Righteous having 3 charges, we had an ability back in the day that had charges on it for a shield ability. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But you just got used to pushing it and saving the cooldown whenever you had to. So it's kind of going back to what it was, in a sense, before the horrible holy power was introduced. But I don't mind it. If I retire the monk and I don't care for demon hunter tanking, I could just easily pick up protection paladin again and be fine. Table, any input on that one?
Not really too much. I just want them to make it really shiny.
Okay. Retribution. Either of you play Retribution?
Not really.
I have one.
Okay. Well, Retribution still has the holy power thing, in with the exception of new abilities. It looks like the same to me.
Was Templar's Verdict was removed, and then now they're putting it back, right?
Templar's Verdict was a talent, I believe.
Yeah, it's like you had to have an upkeep on that where you had to always keep it up. Now it looks like it's just an attack.
No, you're thinking of Inquisition.
Okay, yeah.
Inquisition's the one where you had to use up 3 holy power, keep it up, increase your damage, and yeah.
I thought Templar's Verdict was just baseline.
Is it baseline?
Can't remember. They say he has the talent for Templar's Verdict, or
I'm looking.
Yeah, I don't see it on the talent tree.
No, there's an ability that replaces it though. Sorry, Templar Verdict is baseline. Something replaces it. What's that ability? It replaces Templar's Verdict.
Oh, Final Verdict.
Yeah, Final Verdict replaces Templar's Verdict again. So, yeah, sorry, my bad. It is baseline. It's been a while since I've actually had Templar's Verdict on my bar.
yeah, I don't see Exorcism on the list here, but that. But they said they were trying to get rid of a lot of their ranged spells on the gameplay description. So,
right, and just because the ability isn't here doesn't mean it's gone.
Yeah.
Although I do think they should go back to Exorcism to only hurt demons and undead. It was like way back in the day.
You know what though? I think Exorcism actually builds holy power though.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's part of the rotation right now to have Exorcism, but it's not part of the. From what they're showing here, it's not part of the core combat abilities. So
No.
That doesn't mean they don't have it, but it's just not part of the core combat.
But
from what I
you
can
know
tell.
what though? If I can see him getting rid of that and replacing it with that Blades of Justice, that gives you your 3 ways to build holy power.
Yeah. Because from the gameplay description, they said that Retribution was starting to feel a lot like they were just casters because they had so many ranged abilities. So I could see them taking away Exorcism to give them a melee something or other.
Right. So overall, I don't got a problem with the paladin changes.
No, seems about legit so far. Seems like legit changes, man.
Oh,
I
Christ.
I would like to mention that picture for Retribution Paladin does not look like it's the Ashbringer.
All right, so we have a priest in the group right now. With these changes to the holy, how do you feel about them?
Oh, going back to the core. I think that they're going back to being one of the more legit healers that focus on raid healing. Just higher hitting heals rather than hots, rather than stopping damage. It's going to be nice to see uh, Holy taking their spot again.
That holy word, serenity.
Right.
Crit, full health.
So I don't mind these changes to the holy priest. Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, big changes for Shadow.
I am actually looking forward to leveling my Shadow Priest now to
Yeah.
be a Shadow.
We get to see our characters all corrupt and tentacles.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the animations for that. Like what they put in to animate it.
Right. There isn't a single thing here that I don't care for.
It's all pretty cool, especially like feel wise. Like, you're slowly going insane and
Well, that and actually taking it and looking at it from what a Shadow Priest is now to what they're talking about here.
yeah.
I don't like my Shadow Priest. I don't know how these people are getting this high DPS on them. I don't know how people are enjoying playing it.
I think it's more about dots now than it is direct damage.
I have my priest at level 100 now, and when I pick a flower, mine and node, and those little bastards come out in my garrison, it takes me forever to kill them. So,
Well, my Shadow Priest is level 68 at the moment, I think. That's about as far as I gotten with it. But I'm thinking of leveling her up to max levels so that I can play one for Legion.
Yeah, for Shadow, it's going to be mostly build up rotation, and then your rotation's going to change to keep the insanity up. So you're going to see it start to go down. The more insanity that you actually have, the more damage you're going to be dealing, which from BlizzCon, that's kind of what they went over.
I like that their heals are going to be Power Word Shield and Shadow Mend, so it kind of looks like you don't have to drop out of your Shadow abilities for a moment. I don't know if they're actually going to have Shadow form, but they have Void form, so. But I like that your heals are part of flavor-wise, is what I'm trying to get at. You're not like suddenly using Holy Magic now. You're using Shadow Mend, which makes more sense. Instead of
no more having to jump out of Void form.
Yeah, and having to use a Holy ability. It's like, I'm a Shadow Priest. I turn my back from the Holy thing, but I'm still going to use a Holy spell to heal myself.
I turn my back. I'm hurt. Hi, Holy. How are you?
Yeah. But now it's Shadow Mend. It's like, no, I'll use the shadows to mend myself. Thank you very much.
And discipline that could potentially break up a friendship.
Combat healing.
Now, again, so everyone knows, everyone who's on this podcast right now, we can all agree to disagree on stuff. there's different thoughts on how things are going to happen, all that fun stuff. It's a variety, but we can usually come to a peaceful agreement. I'm fairly certain Tables wanted to kill me quite a few times when we talked about Disc.
I still can't grasp the change on how this could be good. I don't get it.
You don't get it, and personally, looking at on the kind of white with the brown background text, I think it's going to be great.
So we're gonna have a new disc priest healer in our raid, and so how are you gonna deal with this, Mystic?
What do you mean?
You're gonna be our new disc priest.
No, I'm not. I'm a tank.
Nope, you're gonna be our new disc priest.
I will be your new disc priest.
Ironically enough, Zenthia is actually excited about these changes. The idea of doing damage to heal is fun. Again, for me, is fun. I agree with you on how's it going to handle in a 5-man scenario. That does have me worried. But in a raiding environment, I can see this being very powerful.
For raids, it'll be strong. There's gonna be no excuse for if a tank starts to fall while DPS are low on HP, having um, a disc priest switch from healing the raid to single target heals. You're gonna be lacking those raid heals. Somebody's gonna die. And with the target switching, I think it's going to take up some time.
Maybe. Maybe not. That's why the way we sell this was, if we both get in the beta, you're going to try out this because you have more experience with healing than I do. And
Yeah.
an honest opinion on it.
By the end of the beta, I can't promise I won't be stabbing somebody that I'm randomly playing with in dungeon.
What's funny is my first experience with Priest and having the 2 healing specs. My first experience was I actually thought this is what Discipline was supposed to be, like half DPS, half healing. When my first encounter with it, because I hadn't really grasped the whole there could be 2 healing specs in the 3 choices. When I first started, and I'm back in Burning Crusade.
Right.
But overall, I don't mind it. I feel like I've always kind of felt Discipline kind of feels awkward being a second healing spec in a tree with one already. I always felt it was kind of in that awkward place of trying to figure out what it's supposed to be. And then there's been all this drama about absorbs, how they're so heavy on absorbs. It's hard to track them on meters. It's hard to do this, that. But this is definitely one of those changes I'm kind of waiting for someone to play it on beta and make a video of it, because obviously I'm not going to figure anything out by playing it myself, because I have no clue what I'm doing as a display priest.
What
But
this also can change
it'll be
is,
interesting to see, at least.
right now, if you don't bring more than one disc priest to your raid, this could potentially open it up to having more than one disc priest in your raid.
Yeah, maybe. And I'm kind of curious on how much actual DPS they will end up doing in the bigger picture, and
120k.
if bringing a disc priest to your raid can help with those fights you're really kind of struggling on DPS, but you don't want to really sacrifice healers that much, so you kind of pick the middle ground of, okay, we'll just do a disc priest, and
Right.
they could kind of balance us out a little bit, like, because they have that overlap now. But I could probably see like a situation like that. Maybe it'd be kind of cool. But...
Atonement is a really good skill for topping things off. I think as I played Disc Priest, you really didn't focus on that. You focused on shields. And I mean, it's fine that they're lowering that. That's cool because shields were boring anyways. The fact that we had shields on everything is just kind of boring. Um, but for Atonement to be more of an offensive thing, if we're gonna have it where healer's gonna get blamed for the group wiping, well, our heals are nerfed anyways, pretty much, but our damage is raised. So, according to attunement or atonement, it should be raising the heals just through that, and the other skills are still nerfed. So, I mean, if somebody's taking high damage, it's going to be very, very hard to keep up with it.
Right. That's why I said I do agree with you on how it's going to work out in a smaller group setting, and if a Disc Priest is still going to be able to pull off a save like they can now. I agree there. But gameplay wise, I can see myself more attracted to discipline now than I do currently.
I think it just all depends on how the group handles mechanics. And we all know that there's always going to be someone that fails at mechanics. So it's going to be more or less, do I have a good group that can avoid mechanics? If not, I heal them. If they can avoid mechanics, I use atonement. It's just it sounds more of a trade-off than going 50-50.
Right. Let's move on to rogues.
The best
Mike?
class.
Assassination, go.
Assassination basically is unchanged. They are now the only class that has spec that has poisons now. The other two specs don't get poisons, and they're the only spec that has a bleed now. The other two specs don't get bleeds. But overall, they didn't really get touched, and their gameplay looks like it's going to be pretty much exactly the same as it is now. Blizzard decided assassination feels good, so why change it? Why change it if it's not broken? So
All right.
it's definitely going to focus heavily on the poisons and bleeds, just like it does now. So I don't really see too much major changes. That's like if you're playing Assassination Rogue now, I feel like end game Legion, well, not end game Legion, but level cap Legion will feel pretty much exactly the same. So you shouldn't have to worry about learning too much when you get there, other than what your artifact weapon provides. So
Combat
doesn't exist anymore. Moving on. No, they renamed it to Outlaw. You are now a pirate that is very good with the sword, pretty much. And they've removed bleeds, which they kind of already did. Combat hasn't had a bleed since Warlords began, I believe. I'm trying to remember. There was a bleed in my rotation recently. No, they haven't had bleeds. And so combat has always been that spec you go to as a rogue if you wish you were playing a warrior. So they're making it more that, it seems like. And the thing that stands out to me most is the pistol shot, because it sounds really cool. You're just fighting someone, you whip out a pistol and you just shoot them. And I feel like that alone is a good way to separate having a combat rogue versus a fury warrior. Because before, you can't really tell the difference other than one wears leather and the other doesn't. The other wears plate. So the fact that they're now making the outlaw where basically you're a skilled swordsman, but you aren't afraid to play dirty by whipping out your pistol at random and shooting them in the face. So I really like that. I like that they're adding that little touch of class fantasy in there to give them their own identity finally, versus other melee classes that use two-handed weapons. And one-handed weapons. 2 one-handed weapons. There you go. That's what I was trying to get. Yeah, it looks like it's basically going to play the same for the most part, other than pistol shot. It procs off stuff, so it looks like you'll be using pistol shot in your rotation when it procs and when it's off cooldown, maybe, depending on how much damage it does and theory crafting and whatever. But it awards a combo point, so. And it looks good in PvP too, because it reduces movement speed by 50%. Given that crippling poison no longer is a thing for combat, that's probably going to be something you want to keep up in PvP.
Okay.
Like the talent they show, it's free uses of pistol shot granted by Saber Slash. Now grant 1 additional combo point, so you're getting double combo points from your pistol, so obviously you're going to want to use it a lot. So, I really like the combat and how they Outlaw. That's going to be hard to get used to. I really like what they did with Outlaw. I actually like the name change from Combat to Outlaw, because by them changing the name to Outlaw, I feel it gives the class a little more identity versus just combat, because what is combat? That's what I'm doing right now when I'm attacking my opponent. I'm in combat. So I like the change to Outlaw, and the pistol shot are the 2 main things I liked there. And then the one I'm more excited about, though, is the Subtlety Rogue.
Okay,
I really like what they did with them. Whereas right now, it's basically the most complicated spec to play, because you're juggling your dots, and your dots tick faster sometimes, and you have to deal with, are you behind the target? Can you even get behind the target, in front of the target, and all that? And it looks like they've really simplified that down. They've taken bleeds away and poisons away, so you don't have to worry about juggling bleeds and all that. They do have damage over time effect in Nightblade. That's one of the abilities they showed. It is a damage over time effect. Again, it reduces movement speed. That's because crippling poison no longer exists in the subtlety repertoire. So Shadow Dance is one of the biggest things that's really gotten a huge overhaul. It puts you in stealth now with a 20% chance per combo point. So you're going to want to do 5 combo point finishers as part of your rotation, so you can get back in stealth and use your Shadow Strike again, which replaces ambush. So it'll be interesting to see how that one does in a PvE environment, because you're basically just on the boss and you're going back into stealth. So it feels like you won't really notice it as much, because you're like, if you're lagging or something, you don't really see your character go back into stealth. That's happened to me a few times when I use Vanish. Like, I'll use Vanish. I don't see my character go into stealth, but I still got the ambush. So it's like, okay. I just see the poof of smoke because of lag. So it'll be interesting to see how they animate this to make it, or if they animate it at all, to make you know that it's happening or whatever. But they did say in PvP, however, you're not going to go into stealth, which is the one thing I'm kind of like disappointed in, because I wanted to go back in stealth. But I understand it, but flavor-wise, I want to just disappear in the middle of combat constantly every time I use a finish. But I get it, especially since it's stealth that doesn't break for 3 seconds. But yeah, they are getting rid of Honor Among Thieves, and it looks, from what I'm reading, it looks like they replaced it with Shadow Techniques, which your auto attacks now have a chance to generate a combo point versus everyone else's crits. So that will definitely help a lot in making Subtlety easier to play when you're solo, because before it was kind of annoying to play as solo because you're not getting combo points as fast as you're used to, and variances that causes. And then there's Shadow Strike, which replaces. I also read a tweet recently. I think it was a tweet. It might have been an MMO Champion post, where Shadow Strike is actually replacing Shadow Step and Ambush. So those two abilities are being replaced by it. But it does both their jobs. The only thing is now you can't Shadow Step a friendly target, which I thought was just like a little fun thing, but it can be useful. But now you can't do it, so oh well. But it's basically your ambush. Huh?
Maybe a minor glyph they'll put in later, hopefully.
Maybe. That'd be cool. And I really like the feel of the class, though. And spec. I really like the overall feel of the spec, because from what I'm seeing, it definitely gives that feel of you're going in and out of shadows constantly. You're constantly disappearing from combat, and then you're showing back up. And so it feels a lot more like what I would think subtlety spec is supposed to be. The only thing that I did do a tweet where I was asking Warcraft devs a question. They haven't responded to me, but it looks like from core abilities, it looks like we don't have hemorrhage. And I understand that because they're getting rid of bleeds, but that kind of means backstab is our only combo point generator, which I'm hoping isn't the case. I'm hoping they replace hemorrhage with something, just so there's at least an option, like a softer hitting option, like hemorrhage was, to do solo content, basically. Because when you're doing solo content, you can't always be behind the boss. Plus, and there's some raid bosses you can't be behind. They are changing backstab to a, I think they said 250 degrees around the back of the target counts for backstab positioning now. So there's a little more room there, but in solo content, you can't do that. You have to be right in front of the mob. So that is kind of one of my concerns about this, what they have here. Obviously, in beta, we may see they added Shadow Hemorrhage or something to help out. But
bring back Sinister Strike.
Yeah, maybe that. But other than that, they haven't answered me on Twitter, so I have no idea. So I'm still waiting for that answer if I ever get it before the beta comes. But yeah, overall, everything looks really good for rogues. They're definitely finally separating assassination and subtlety, which has always been one of my big things. Like, there's never seemed to be any difference between the two. Now there's finally clear, definitive difference between the three specs, which is obviously what they're going for, like they've said. So there's also, each spec offers something for different people, like people who like different play styles. Like, combat barely even uses stealth anymore, if at all. So if you don't like the stealth play style, then you don't have to. So I've talked volumes about it. What do you guys think?
I like the changes.
It makes me wonder about Shadow Dance. Like, if you're going back into stealth, like as before you went back into stealth, it pulled you out of combat and then everything reset. It's definitely going to have to change the pull mechanics for the mobs that we're fighting. So I'm hoping to see that you do have a little leeway of being out of combat and actually hitting something.
Yeah, that's the other thing I forgot about, was when you're doing solo content, if you vanish, the mob resets. So does this do that too? They make it impossible to do questing.
Right, going along. This is only viable for raiding.
Yeah. Raiding and PvP, that's it. Don't do anything else with this spec. If you do anything else, it'll be impossible, or you have to only do your finishing moves at 4 combo points and hope that you don't get the 80% chance of it happening. Or do you finish moves at 1 combo point and you have a 20% chance of the mob resetting on you?
Yeah, the coolest part about that is that I'd consider that like 2 finishing moves, because really your finishing move is mostly your strongest skill, and then your stealth skill is among that powerful,
Yeah.
which most stealth skills already give you like 2 combo points usually. Uh, so you're gonna be bouncing back and forth between stealth and that anyways.
Yeah, the playstyle right now, you kind of do. Like Vanish is one of your major DPS cooldowns for it. But Shadow Dance before, it just gave you a different bar, basically. You might as well have gone in stealth. But there's not going to be ambush spam or Shadow Strike spam like there would be if Shadow Dance stayed the same. At least Shadow Strike doesn't have to be behind the target, from what I can see. From what they have written here, anyway.
Well, it does say a shadowy decoy will appear to the nearby. So, I mean, you gotta rush to hit it again afterwards. It doesn't seem like you'd have very much time before it resets.
No, another thing I was thinking about, Shadow Strike is going to be one of your major abilities, right? So, what if we have another boss, like the Heart of the Mountain guy, or whatever his name is, that if you go behind him, you fall? I can see that as a problem, too. Unless Blizzard's just not going to make those kind of bosses anymore, and every boss you could get behind. Or something. That could be interesting.
You ready to move on to shamans?
Beta comes out and you try and do that raid, and then you find out your main cooldown and your main ability just puts you behind the boss and drops you. That'd be hilarious. I want to see that video. Yeah, let's move on, Shaman. Shamanin.
Alright. So looking at Elemental, I don't see much of a difference, with the exception of the Maelstrom option now, which will change up gameplay, obviously. But I think and I hope overall with these Elemental changes, it makes Elemental fun. I actually stopped playing Elemental because I was like, this is What do you guys think?
I like the way Elemental plays with the multi strike right now, where you're doing chain lightning and the rocks come up, molten rocks come up and start lancing themselves at the enemy. But the way that they're changing it now is that they'll still have a form of multi strike through mastery. So that's going to be the same, using more of the elements, and it's going to have that shamanistic feel to it. I think that's going to be a pretty cool outcome from it. That's about all the changes I really saw.
Mike?
For the most part, it looks the same, other than the Flame Shock, Earth Shock thing. That seems like the biggest difference that I can see. Especially since they're variable on how much Maelstrom is spent on them. Seems interesting. It's like, is there any reason that you're not going to want to spend them on full Maelstrom or something? Or like maybe Flame Shock to get your dot rolling again or something.
Right.
But Earth Shock, it looks like you're going to want to do it at 100 Maelstrom each time. But maybe there's a benefit to using it earlier. Like, that's up for theory crafters to decide, I'm sure. But
enhancement.
Rock Biter's coming back.
Yeah. And after that, again, with changing the Maelstrom, it looks like it's going to be the same enhancement.
But these ones are all straight up cost rather than how much you want to spend on them.
Right.
I do think that it would be a cool aspect for a shaman to be more randomized with overload. Seeing as how almost all the lore about shamans is catering to the elements and not the elements catering to you. So you have the elements that you're trying to bind to. It determines how good you are with the elements for them to actually go with you and do attacks with you and all that. So I think that it would be a cool thing for every once in a while you struggle with it and it takes you a little bit more of your resource to actually summon something.
Yeah.
I mean, it had a whole bunch of chances to do some unique stuff with them.
And resto shamans. Mike?
Mostly just looks OP. I'm wondering how it's going to play out with the fact that you can now have all your water totems out at the same time. But just have your healing surge and healing stream at the same time. Just sit back, relax, have your riptide up. They say they're wanting to get away from chain heal spam, but from what I see, it looks like mostly you're just going to chain heal spam.
Overall, looking at the resto shaman and actually shaman in general, with the exception of changing the Maelstrom and looking like it's going to be more powerful, I don't see a huge game-changing effect happening.
Yeah.
Just some stat changes, that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could still see the resto shaman just spamming chain heal with a lot of these abilities that they show. It's just, they say they want to get away from that, but
all right, Affliction Warlocks. So my time playing a Warlock,
back in the day,
very short time.
Back when you had the Warlock uphill and in the snow.
When I first started playing Warlock, you would go ... wand. That's all you did. You set your blueberry out there, ... wand. You waited, ... wand. That's how old school I am. Of course, I'm also at the, loving a paladin. You didn't dare push consecration because it took up all your mana. Hey, you basically auto attacked everything to death. But once you got Crusader Strike, watch out.
I played it pretty heavily in Wrath. But I think I played him a little bit in Cataclysm. That's about it.
Looking at Affliction, from what I recall playing it, I believe these are pretty much all the same.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. You're just dot juggling.
Yeah.
It's exactly pretty much the same it's been since Cat.
Not demonology, though.
Got the biggest change. Jizz.
I like the idea of having to... You're empowering a demon and sending it. Instead of becoming a demon.
Yeah. Especially now that Demon Hunters fulfill that role just fine.
Right. Well, we don't know if it fulfills just fine yet.
Well, they'll probably be OP at first, but...
again, I have no problem with a hero class starting out OP, makes sure everybody catches up. At the end, everybody's on the same playing field. It makes sense for a hero class to be more powerful anyway.
Yeah.
Looking at the demonology changes and spells and everything, I like them.
Yeah,
What about you guys?
I like that a lot of the spells summon random imps and dread stalkers and stuff. So while you're fighting, you don't just have your pet, you have these other things randomly showing up to help you out, and then you have the big ones you could summon.
Right.
So I like that there's going to be a lot more demons floating around the raid. The more warlocks you have, you just have this army of demons fighting the army of demons.
You get a demon, you get a demon, you get a demon, and you get a demon.
So it's like you're a one warlock demon army versus a legion of demon armies. Fight fire with fire, right?
There you go. Table?
I'm very enthusiastic about this one. I really like the idea of having multiple demons on the field, as long as they don't confuse your raid and they start attacking your pets. Metamorphosis as a standpoint for lore never made sense. Why did they turn into demons when they're enslaving them? So, that was kind of like you're getting a race change in the middle of everything. That doesn't make sense. But the way that they corrected it, I think that it's good. You throw out, maybe you can have an aura or choose an aura from, but the buffing the demon parts. Yeah, you have like your own little army. It's like you're playing your own little RTS. I'm gonna enjoy it.
And then destruction.
Green fire.
Yeah. I don't see that much of a change on destruction warlocks.
Yeah, they didn't really change it all either. Just about the same.
So overall, I like the changes to the warlock class.
Like nothing changed. Demonology's cool. Overall, class is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My problem is I like the warlock class. I really do. I just can't play it to save my life.
I hate affliction.
It's okay. Affliction hates you too. First, well, hold on. Time out. You can't even play a warlock class, Mike.
What?
You're not allowed to play a warlock class.
I've played a warlock class.
You're not allowed.
Max level content.
You're not allowed.
Their pets are easier to remember to put out.
So warriors. I like the fact that they don't have to track 90 million different buffs anymore. I don't have any problem with any of these changes on the arms side of things. Mainly because one, I haven't played arms forever, and two, I don't remember very much as being different.
I've never really played warriors.
Table, your thoughts on arms?
I played arms for a little while. It's kind of like how Fury was with the buffs. It's really nice to see him. They just kind of like wiped, so we don't really have to worry about him. It was really dumb, I think, as a class for something that's supposed to be kind of barbaric or kind of like knight, that you had to choose when you use a skill. No, you're like in combat, you're supposed to be this brutal person just doing everything that they can to start smashing these guys. So this is a really cool change. You can do exactly what you want to do when you want to do it, as long as you have the rage for it.
Right. Fury. Again, dropping the tracking of 9 million buffs. And still using two H's. I don't see any downside to this change on Fury either. And that's the spec on a warrior I played the most.
At BlizzCon, mostly they said they're trying to get it where you're looking less at your bars and more at the actual character.
Right.
And what's going on.
Table, Fury?
I don't have really too much on it. It's the one that I played the most in MOP. I don't know. I just enjoyed how it used to play, and since it's not changing, I'm happy with it. It's not really changing too much, anyways.
Right. Protection. I just had my first real encounter with playing Protection Warrior at max level the other day, and it doesn't really seem like there's, from what I remember playing and looking at these changes, it really looks like it's going to be, with the exception of Ignore Pain. I don't think we have Ignore Pain now. It's going to be basically the same. I think Protection Warriors are the least changed of the tanking classes.
Seems like warriors altogether are the least changed.
Well, for the most part, they have. I think fantasy-wise, they've really stuck to it, with the exception. Gladiator stances are coming with us in Legion, so I
Gladiator
think
spec.
Spec, yeah, whatever. It was a talent, okay?
A talent that became a spec.
Yeah.
It became its own thing. A monster.
I really never saw a warrior class really getting away from what I envisioned a warrior was. With the exception of the whole watching 9 million different buffs, but that's different. As a class fantasy, I never really watched them go beyond what I personally envisioned a warrior being. I can't say that for a lot of the other classes. Table, how do you feel?
I think that fantasy that Blizzard has been trying to fulfill has kind of almost always been there with warriors. I've always had that feeling of just going in and thrashing things. So, for the most part, Blizzard did a great job with warriors. And with these just hardly just tweaks, it seems that it's going to be just a little bit better than what it used to be. So they're just making good better.
So, final thoughts overall on the class changes table.
I think this is the biggest part. This is what everybody should be focusing on right now as the biggest changes that Blizzard has made in Legion. For classes, it was the as far as everything that we actually with and interact with, this is going to be the core of everything. So when we move forward into beta and maybe the first patch when it comes out, it needs to fulfill that fantasy that everybody wants. So I would rather have it where people submit tickets and say, hey, this isn't how I think that this class should feel. As far as this, for any spec, because what we're looking at right now is going to be a change that we're going to see 5 expansions down the line. So this is like the largest deal that I could be making for the expansion. I think that they're making that right step forward with this. But as far as that is, I think they all look fairly balanced, and I kind of disagree with the whole mindset of keeping all classes even. Maybe some should flex a little higher, maybe some should be a little lower, but for the most part, we shouldn't be, Blizzard shouldn't be throwing classes down even further. Because really, we all want to play our class. We want to play our spec that we feel more comfortable with. If I go out and I want to play a rogue, I don't want to be like, well, sub is a lot better than outlaw. I have to switch to sub. So
Right.
anticipating this stuff, I'm actually kind of excited as we move forward with this.
Mike?
Forgot I was on mute. My wife was talking to me for a minute. Overall, I think the class changes are pretty good. That's all a step in the right direction stuff. There are a few things with the rogue that I mentioned I was a little worried about for subtlety, but I'm glad to see a lot of the changes happening. And mostly I'm just glad that going into Legion, seeing them making a change that a lot of people have been asking for, and that's been a long time coming, really. And not seeing them continue down this path where everything feels the same and so it's boring. And I think this will actually make me play my ults more when I get to like level cap and things start getting boring. Because like one of the reasons I don't really play ults right now is just they don't feel different enough from what I've already played. So I think this would help that a lot because now everything's going to feel so much different. Even just changing specs, you get a different play style. So
Right.
For someone like me who likes to level alts every now and then and even play different specs every now and then, all this stuff is really great because that lets me have new experiences I could have even after reaching level cap. So, and also like with the whole rogue changes, I know I'm mostly focusing on those, but I like that they did keep in mind that all the other rogues were losing poisons, and so they just baked in some of the crucial poison abilities into other abilities. So I like that. Like I'm not losing crippling poison just because I'm not assassination. I'm just getting a different version.
Right.
So I'm still very confused on the druid thing. I think it'll take beta to figure that one out. I hope I get in beta. But if not, I will watch videos of beta closely. I think pretty much everything in Legion so far, I think, is steps in the right direction. It's just, can they keep the ball rolling? Like, especially through, not just into the next expansion, like through this current expansion. Like, sure, they're taking the steps in the right direction with these classes and all that, but will they keep it rolling through from patch to patch to patch? Will they be able to build on it? Is the main thing that we'll have to wait and see on. Or will they be like Warlords where after the first patch it's just like downhill? But yeah, everything looks really promising. A lot of the stuff we've read on the class overviews is a lot of stuff that I've actually seen on the forums in the past of people begging for or asking for or wishing Blizzard would do. So again, it's like I said before, it feels like they're definitely taking a lot more. There's more evidence in this expansion and in these class changes that Blizzard is actually legitimately reading the forums and listening to players and stuff than in previous expansions. So that's mostly what I have. My thoughts.
Overall, on the class changes, even though there was some that, quite a few actually, we said we don't see a big difference. Where I meant was looking at the spells and reading what they're going to do. I'm not taking into account the talent system. I'm not taking into account the artifact. Those two things right there could change the play style dramatically on every class. That's why Brewmaster, I need to see what's going to happen, because that might be the nail in the coffin for my Brewmaster. And like Table said, this is a big change. We're going to have a lot of people relearning their classes, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's really doing a reset where, for a small fraction of a time, everybody's going to be on the same playing level for each class, each spec, whatnot. Then obviously you're going to have those people pull away, understanding it real fast and figuring out how to do everything real fast. But we're going to have a small gap of time where everybody's a noob.
Well, the people that are in the beta will learn things faster than the people that aren't.
Yeah. Well,
but those are the people that put out guides. So,
mm-hmm. All in all, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm already excited for our next podcast, because there's so much information already out there right now.
It just keeps coming.
Yeah. And this one, we just finished off Blizzcon and we did the class review, and it's already 2.5 hours long. So if we were going to cover everything that came out this week, the last 2 weeks, there'd have to be an intermission for breakfast. For breakfast.
Yeah, the class overviews just tip of the iceberg of what's come out since BlizzCon.
Yep. And that's great. We had a long time where there's very little information, and now we have information overload, which I like. Anything in closing, Mike?
Give me a beta key.
Table, anything in closing?
I kind of did want to mention that the talent tree, they did mention that there's going to be hundreds of talents. I watched some people play beta, or not beta. It was kind of like that little showroom thing that they had for Demon Hunters on BlizzCon.
Oh, BlizzCon demo.
Yeah, they had a Demon Hunter talent tree that looked just like ours, so they didn't redo the talent tree yet. And this is just a UI for the Demon Hunters. But it had a talent at every level, and I'm wondering if they're going to do the same with everybody, considering they did say hundreds. So maybe every other level of talent. I'm only hoping.
Well, I think
that'd be cool.
I think when they said hundreds, they meant the talents change with spec. Like, that's what they.
That would go back to having something to do whenever you leveled. You used to get a talent point when you leveled. Yeah. Now you level, it's like, I leveled. What's he doing? Every now and then you get a new ability. Like, yeah, new ability.
Of course, it's really hard to tell from the Demon Hunter just because they have to level up quicker than other people as far as talents and stuff. Give you abilities faster than you normally get them.
Yeah.
Catch you up to being good.
Yeah, it just is kind of awkward because the Death Knights are just, it didn't have that same look to it either. I don't know.
Anything
We'll
else
see.
You want to say?
No, that's it.
For me, it's just, I can't wait to see what's happening. I hope I get into an actual beta, not a weekend beta thing.
It seems like everyone's doing that now.
Uh-huh.
Like, everyone and their brother is just doing weekend beta, and it's like, that's not really much time to do anything useful. No. Especially for people that they do stuff on the weekends. So it's like, when do they get to enjoy their beta access?
Right.
Like Blade and Soul's doing that too, and they even skip weekends. Like this weekend, they're not doing it. And it's like,
with that, thank you so much for joining us. Mike, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Abel, say goodbye.
See ya.
Later, everybody.